Anderson County 911, what's the location of your emergency?
We are at the very lifeblood of Anderson County Communications. This is the 911 center. We are located out at the entrance to the airport. 911 dispatch is out here. At what point when you're at Crescent do you think, you know what, I think I may go into law enforcement? Was there an event? Was there something that happened that kind of triggered that desire?
Yes. My junior year at Crescent, my English teacher presented a pamphlet during class, and it was where the Anderson County Sheriff's Office and the Sheriff's Office was recruiting young people to start training them to get into law enforcement. They called it the Explorer program. And I ended up picking up one of those pamphlets. I didn't really think a whole lot about it at the time. Got the pamphlet home, got to reading it, pulled in a cousin and some other friends, and we all took off to the Sheriff's Office and become explorers. And that was the first Explorer program that the Sheriff's Office actually had, I was a member of. I had about a good year and a half with the Explorer program before I actually got hired.
And when you were hired in the early 90s, dispatch was then housed where?
At the LEC in the old Duck Cooley building. Little bitty room, about this, as big as this area here. And there was 3 of us in that area.
What were the mechanics of dispatching? Did you have computers? Did you have...
We did. It was what we called the old green screen. We had a CAD system, computer-aided dispatch. It's what you see here behind me, but it was a lot less high-tech. All it was just you was able to monitor where your units were and monitor your calls. We were transitioning from the old punch cards to this CAD, so we were kind of doing both things at one time. A lot of it was still written, a lot of logs, a lot of written material.
When you became a dispatcher for Anderson County, what were the requirements that you had to go off and get certified in?
High school diploma.
You stay in dispatch how long at the LEC in the Duck Cooley building?
We stayed there until it centralized in 1999, 2000.
Yep. What did that mean? Where did we go and what did we do?
That was Tower Street. We moved from Campson Road location, and they moved us over to the Tower Street location. And I had left the Sheriff's Office and went to work for EMS during that time. We were working in the basement of the old ag building downtown, and at that point, Gerald Shealy had come in and they had started talking about centralizing all of the agencies.
Because up until then, how did Anderson County work when it came to dispatch?
The Sheriff's Office was your PSAP, which is your primary answering point. That's where all the 911s would come into. We would then transfer it to where it needed to go. If they needed Anderson City, we would transfer it to the city dispatchers, which was downtown on Main Street. If they needed county fire, we transferred it to McGee Road. If they needed EMS, we transferred it to the ag building, because that's where they worked out of, the basement of the ag building. And then there was always Med Shore, but county EMS is what dispatched those agencies. So everything that was not Sheriff's Office related, you transferred to the agency that they needed.
Did that include the small towns?
Yes. At that point, the small towns had all their own dispatchers, all their own jailers. They housed all their own prisoners back then. Yes.
Then we decide that maybe that's not the most efficient way to run a dispatch complex.
Correct.
And we started talking about consolidating.
Yes.
What went into making the decision to centralize dispatch for Anderson County, and why did we think that was a better working operation?
Just from the part where I was a part of, it went from a main event that I can remember is a Belton City officer had gotten to a shooting incident, and this is just one that stands out in my mind. And the dispatcher that was on duty at that time was needing help. He had only been dispatching for maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks at the most, and he had this officer-involved shooting going. He called over, and all that he would say, the dispatcher, was, "I need somebody in Belton now," and he hung up on us. and I try to call him back, and he would pick up and say, I can't talk, just get me somebody to Belton. And we're trying to figure out what's going on. So I pull up his radio, of course, and I start sending units toward Belton. But this whole time I'm trying to talk to him and calm him down and find out, tell me what you're needing so I know who to send you. And I never could get him to do that. And I don't know if you remember Rufus Clinkscales.
Sure.
Lieutenant Clinkscales was our lieutenant at the time.
Yep.
And Rufus come into dispatch and want to know, what is going on, Becky? You know, and I'm going, I don't know. He keeps hanging up on me. And so he says, get him back on the phone. So I call him back. Well, I put Lieutenant on the phone, and he was like, I just need somebody here now. And he hangs up on Lieutenant. So Lieutenant just takes off out the door. So if you can understand trying to communicate pertinent information by a phone in the most critical point in time, it makes it a whole lot easier if I can get up and walk over there to him and calm him down or let him get up and find out what exactly is going on. That's just one of the incidents that I remember. I remember Gerald Shealy had come from, I believe, Cherokee County, and he had already centralized a center there. And the way his explanation was to us was, you're going to reduce response time, everybody's going to know what everybody's doing, and it's got to make it better than what we're doing now. You know, it's never been done before in Anderson County, but it's got to make it better than what we're doing now. It ended up, a lot of good has come out of centralizing. We still have twerks and problems, but overall, I mean, it's a pretty good system.
And now we moved out here when?
2013.
Yeah.
2013 was when the lightning strike
Downtown.
took out the tower
Yeah.
at the old 911 center.
Yeah.
So this was our backup center at that time, and they moved the main center to the backup center, and we've been operating here since.
And now with this consolidated 911 program going on here, who is surrounding you and who's in this room?
We dispatch everything in here from animal control. We've got 7 municipalities, all of the municipalities in the county. All of those are dispatched on our small towns console. We have the municipal fire departments that we dispatch for, Anderson City Police, Anderson County Sheriff's Office. Med Shore is now in our building. They don't answer directly to us, but their dispatchers are here. Anderson County Fire is here, and they answer to County Fire, but they're under our roof.
As a dispatcher, am I assigned to one pod or can I move around?
Most all of us are trained to operate every pod, and of course, like anything else, you've got some that are better in some positions than others. We try to keep the employees in their strengths. If they're really strong on law enforcement, we try to keep them there. But we try to train them on all stations, so in the event we have to move them, we have that privilege of moving them. Majority of the time, you're going to operate the same radio.
You get to know the people at the other end of the radio.
The syllables that come out of their mouth, they recognize the voices.
And yet, it's possible for a dispatcher to work here for an extended period of time and never go face to face with any of the people on the other end of the radio, right?
Correct. Some have worked here 10, 11 years, and I know we had an interview board about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that was the first time that she had met some of the people that she worked with was on that interview board.
Pretty amazing, isn't
And that is the part we miss.
Sure, because it used to be you would all get together for the shift trades, and you'd seen them, you'd interact with them, and that's changed. That's
You'd
part
know
of it.
their mood. They would know yours before they went on the road, and we don't have that privilege anymore.
You mentioned something a minute ago about the fact that these dispatchers kind of find their own niche. Mm-hmm. Are you constantly looking for that to match my personality with who I'm going to be dispatching for? Is that something you pick up on, or do I tell you, I'd rather work fire, I'd rather work...
We do a little bit of both. You may think when you start here that all you want to do is law enforcement, but then you get back on fire and EMS, and again, because you've never experienced the fire and EMS side, you may decide that you really like it, and vice versa with law enforcement. We have some that come in that are ex-firemen or that are still active in a fire department, but then they get that little taste of County Channel 1 and handle their first foot pursuit or vehicle pursuit, and they're like, I love law enforcement now. I love this side of it. So we do both. We do both.
keeping calm when others around me are losing their heads is kind of what you're training these people to do.
Trying to, yes.
And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes correct. We've cried with them, we've prayed with them.
Give me the numbers on Anderson County Dispatch as far as employees and tenure of service and that kind of stuff.
We have 64 that are assigned to the center, total of 72 employees altogether, but the top portion is administrative figures. We have training coordinator, TAC, which is the terminal agency coordinator that deals with SLED and NCIC. We have a CAD administrator, assistant communications director. We have a quality assurance officer who also handles all the FOIAs, pulling the tapes and getting the requests from solicitors, attorneys, and things like that. We have some radio technicians that fall in there, but we have 64 that's actually assigned to the center.
And at one time on one shift, how many people are in here?
Anywhere from 11 to 14, depending on what we have going on. We have a lot of special ops that call for us to pull in more people. We have 10 radios, so we try to at least have 10 people, but the inconvenience in that now is if you're on a radio, you're also answering a phone. So we don't have the call takers to take that phone call volume off of our radio operators.
So a 911 call comes into anybody?
Anybody.
Whoever happens to pick it up?
Correct.
Whereas before, one person would answer that 911 call.
It's kind of always been you do it all. The luxury of having additional personnel in the center would give us that call taker to get the telephones off of our county channel 1, off of our main EMS channel. But as it is right now, they do it all.
How long does it take, Becky, to get somebody who's sitting down to the console for the first time to become proficient to where you can walk off and say they can handle any situation, I don't have to worry about them?
We start off with them on call taking. They observe for 1 or 2 days, then we let them drive it. Call taking usually takes anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 weeks. A lot of it depends on how people learn also. Some people just grab it and take off with it like anything else, and others struggle because of the multitasking in it. Once they're signed off on call taking, then they start training on each radio. They'll start out on small towns, then they'll move to city, county, EMS, fire, and each one of those pods, you're looking at probably 3 to 4 weeks of training time because of the call volume. A lot of times you can't train a trainee the way that they need to be trained because you are physically working yourself. So when downtime comes, you get as much training time in with them as you can. So that hinders us a little bit and prolongs it when I can't spend all my time with that trainee because I'm also a working trainer. The communications division is the only division that can hire straight out of high school. You have to be 18 years of age. In other areas of the sheriff's office, you have to be 21. Dispatch allows us to hire at 18, high school diploma, of course, birth certificate, driver's license, clear criminal history, clear background. Once we get them in here, we put them through our training program. Some of it's classroom, some of it's hands-on. Then they have a 2-week training at the Criminal Justice Academy to get their certification through the state to be a communications operator, a 911 emergency communications operator. That's fixing to drop back to 1 week, so we usually try to get all that training in within the year. We have a year to get the certification through the state. The biggest thing these days for us as far as hurdles is you hire them in, but a lot of the young people these days, and I'm not trying to stereotype because you have some that are above average, but they don't realize what work is. They do great on the technology. They learn the CAD and they learn the technology, but because they've had that lack of interaction with people, they don't know how to handle those stressful situations, to calm people down, or to. Some do really well, like I said, it just depends on the person, but then others, they struggle with it.
So you are looking for young people that are interested, and you would encourage them to come see you?
Yes, if they want to be a part of something bigger than themselves, and to be here for people when it is the worst day of their life, or sometimes the best, depending on the situation. We've handled really bad calls, but we've had some really good ones to where we've helped daddies birth babies. We've helped daughters get mama back to breathing with CPR instruction. It's not what it used to be. It's not just clerical anymore. we have to be trained to an extent that I've got to be able to give you pre-arrival instructions to help you save the person dying in front of you until I can get a first responder to you. So it's changed a lot over the years as far as that of what we are expected to be able to do for you as the caller. And I just ask that the people that come and apply for this job understand that. It's not just, you're not just a clerk, you are a public safety person. You are that one who's getting them help.
You now know where every vehicle within the system is at any given time.
Yes, we're not only with the statusing the units in CAD, but we also have the GPS pucks, which is AVLs, automatic vehicle locators, that shows us where they are on the map. If they can't tell me where they are, I can see them. Helps us a lot in chases because people steal road signs, so it helps us a lot as far as foot pursuits, vehicle pursuits, and just people not knowing where they are in general with these mobile calls.
You're getting close to retirement. Looking back, when you were a little girl down at Crescent, decided, despite your upbringing, you wanted to go into law enforcement. Would you do it again?
Oh yeah.